The rain drummed steadily against the windows of Café Lumière, a hidden gem tucked away in one of Vancouver's less-traveled streets. Trevor Matthews wasn't supposed to be working that morning, but his coworker had called in sick, and he couldn't bear the thought of letting down the regulars who counted on his carefully crafted lattes to start their days. At 32, Trevor was what some might call a career barista, though he preferred coffee artisan. His small journal of handwritten poems sat beneath the counter, dog-eared and coffee-stained, a constant companion during quiet moments between rushes. He took pride in the way he could read customers' moods and adjust their drinks accordingly, a dash more chocolate for the heartbroken, an extra shot of espresso for the weary, a touch of vanilla for those who needed sweetness in their lives. The bell above the door chimed, and Trevor looked up from the portafilter he was cleaning to see a woman he recognized instantly from countless headlines and social media posts. Amber Heard, in the flesh, wearing oversized sunglasses and a casual outfit that somehow still managed to look elegant. She glanced around the empty cafe, shoulders relaxing slightly when she realized she was the only customer. "Welcome to Café Lumière," Trevor said, keeping his voice neutral, professional. "What can I make for you today?" She approached the counter, removing her sunglasses. There was something tired in her eyes, something that spoke of too many cameras, too many judgments, too many expectations. "What would you recommend for someone who's had a really long week? And it's only Tuesday." Trevor studied her for a moment, his hands already moving to select beans from a special batch he'd been saving. "I think I know exactly what you need." As he worked, he could feel her watching him. His movements were deliberate, almost meditative, the precise tamping of the grounds, the careful attention to temperature, the way he poured the milk to create not just any design, but one that seemed to flow and evolve, like emotions made visible in cream and coffee. "This," he explained as he set the cup before her, "is what I call an emotional latte. It's not on the menu. The beans are from a small farm in Colombia, roasted to bring out notes of dark chocolate and black cherry. The milk is from a local dairy that treats their cows like family. And the design, well, that's different for everyone. Yours looked like it needed to be a phoenix today." Amber stared at the cup, where indeed, a bird seemed to be rising from flames rendered in perfectly steamed milk. "This is beautiful," she murmured, taking a careful sip. Her eyes widened slightly. "And it tastes like someone understood exactly what you needed?" Trevor suggested with a slight smile. She nodded, then pulled out her phone. "I have to tell someone about this. Elon needs to try this. He's always talking about innovation in the future, but sometimes it's the simple things, done with real feeling, that matter most." Trevor felt his cheeks warm slightly at the compliment. "Poetry in a cup," he said. "That's all it is." "You're a poet?" she asked, genuine interest flickering across her face. "Sometimes," he admitted, patting the journal under the counter. "When the coffee allows it." She smiled then, a real smile that transformed her entire face. "I'll be back tomorrow," she said. "Maybe you can share some of your poetry then." As she left, Trevor couldn't help but notice she'd forgotten to put her sunglasses back on. The rain had stopped, and sunlight was starting to break through the clouds, casting prisms on the floor through the cafe's windows. He didn't know it then, but that was just the beginning. The next day would bring Elon Musk himself through those doors, curious about the barista who makes lattes with emotion, and what followed would change all their lives in ways none of them could have predicted. Elon Musk wasn't known for his patience with what he called analog experiences. Yet here he was, standing in Café Lumière at 7:30 a.m., drawn by Amber's enthusiastic messages about a barista who created drinks that were more than just coffee. Trevor had been warned by Amber's text. She'd left her number the day before, ostensibly to pre-order her morning coffee. "He's coming to see you," she'd written. "Don't let my praise set expectations too high." But there was a playful undertone to her message that made Trevor wonder if she was hoping for exactly the opposite. The cafe owner had nearly fainted when she arrived early and saw Elon Musk's Tesla parked outside. She'd rushed to flip the closed sign to open before ducking into her office, leaving Trevor to handle whatever was about to unfold. "So," Elon said, hands clasped behind his back as he examined the modest espresso machine, "you're the emotion engineer." Trevor felt his face flush at the term. "I just make coffee, Mr. Musk. Call me Elon. And according to Amber, you do considerably more than just make coffee. She showed me pictures of your work. The Phoenix was particularly interesting. The fluid dynamics in the milk pour must require precise calculation of temperature and viscosity ratios." "Actually," Trevor said, beginning to pull shots of espresso, "it's more about feeling the flow. Like poetry, sometimes you have to let go of the calculations and trust your instincts." Elon's eyebrows rose slightly. "You're suggesting that intuition can produce better results than algorithmic precision?" "Not better," Trevor replied, steaming milk with practiced care. "Different. There's room in the world for both, isn't there? SpaceX launches require exact calculations, but art requires something else. Something human." As he spoke, Trevor's hands moved in their familiar dance, creating something in the cup that made even Elon Musk fall silent. When he finished, the latte art depicted what appeared to be a rocket transforming into a dove. "How did you?" Elon started, then stopped himself, leaning in to examine the design more closely. "I told you," Amber said from the doorway, startling them both. She'd arrived silently, watching the interaction with evident amusement. "He makes lattes with emotion." Elon took a sip, and for a moment, his carefully maintained expression cracked. Something like wonder flickered across his face. "This is unexpected. The flavor profile is complex, but it's the feeling it evokes that's truly remarkable. Like the first moment I knew space travel was possible." Trevor felt a strange mix of pride and unease as he watched Amber walk over to stand beside Elon. She was beaming at Trevor as if he'd just proven a point she'd been trying to make for a long time. "You should come to dinner," Elon said suddenly. "Both of us would love to hear more about your philosophy on the intersection of precision and emotion." He glanced at Amber, who nodded enthusiastically. That's very kind, but," Trevor began. "No buts," Amber interrupted. "Tomorrow night. We're staying at the Fairmont Pacific Rim. 7 o'clock. After they left, Trevor stood in his empty cafe, wondering what he'd gotten himself into. The invitation felt both exciting and dangerous, like standing at the edge of a precipice. In his journal, he wrote, "Between circuits and stars. Hearts beat in analog time. Some doors, once opened." He left the poem unfinished, just as the story between the three of them was only beginning to unfold. Tomorrow night would change everything, though not in any way they could have predicted.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.
The Fairmont Pacific Rim's penthouse suite offered a panoramic view of Vancouver's harbor, the water reflecting the sunset in shades of amber and gold. Trevor stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, feeling distinctly out of place in his best button-down shirt and the only blazer he owned, a thrift store find that his sister had helped him pick out for special occasions. "Magnificent, isn't it?" Amber's voice came from behind him. She'd answered the door herself, wearing a simple black dress that probably cost more than Trevor's yearly rent. "I love watching the seaplanes land at this hour. There's something poetic about it." "Like metal birds coming home to roost," Trevor replied without thinking, then felt self-conscious about the impromptu metaphor. "Exactly like that," she said, stepping closer to the window. "You see the beauty in ordinary things. That's rare." "Sorry I'm late." Elon's voice boomed from the suite's entrance. He strode in, still typing on his phone. Had to deal with a minor crisis at Tesla. Something about the AI in the new models developing a preference for jazz over classical music during autonomous driving. Trevor couldn't tell if he was joking. Dinner was served on the terrace. A private chef had prepared a menu that Elon claimed was optimized for maximum conversational productivity. Yet as the evening progressed, Trevor noticed that Elon spent more time on his phone than engaging in actual conversation. "He's always like this," Amber said softly, while Elon stepped away to take another call. "Present but absent. Sometimes I think he sees the whole world as a problem to be solved rather than a moment to be experienced." "And what do you see?" Trevor asked, surprised by his own boldness. She met his eyes across the table. "I see someone who understands that some moments don't need solving. They just need to be felt." When Elon returned, he launched into a monologue about his latest project, an AI system designed to predict and generate human emotions. "Imagine," he said, "being able to calculate the perfect response to any emotional situation. No more uncertainty, no more misunderstandings." But isn't uncertainty part of what makes us human? Trevor found himself arguing. In poetry, in art, in love, it's the not knowing that makes it beautiful. Inefficient, Elon countered. Beauty can be quantified, reduced to algorithms. Even your coffee art could be replicated by a machine with the right programming. The art, maybe, Amber interjected. But not the feeling it creates. Not the way Trevor seems to know exactly what each person needs, even when they don't know themselves. She wasn't looking at Elon as she spoke. The tension in the room shifted, became something electric and dangerous. Elon's phone buzzed again, and this time when he left to take the call, the silence between Amber and Trevor felt heavy with unspoken words. "I should go," Trevor said, standing abruptly. "Thank you for dinner, but..." "Don't," Amber said, reaching for his hand. "Please. I need to tell you something." But before she could continue, Elon returned, his face animated with new ideas. "Trevor. I've just had a brilliant thought. What if we collaborated? We could create a chain of AI-driven cafes, combining your emotional intelligence with machine learning. We could call it Star Tesla or Emoticup or..." "I think Trevor needs to leave," Amber interrupted, her hand dropping away. "He has an early morning at the cafe tomorrow." The look that passed between them spoke volumes. Trevor knew he should feel guilty, but instead he felt something else, something that reminded him of his own latte art, the way the patterns sometimes flowed in unexpected directions, creating something both beautiful and inevitable. As he left the hotel, Trevor pulled out his journal and wrote. In gilded towers high. 3 hearts beat out of sync, while truth pours like coffee. The next day would bring a storm, both literal and metaphorical, that would force all 3 of them to confront the emotions they'd tried to contain within careful patterns and programmed responses. The storm hit Vancouver with unexpected fury the next morning. Rain lashed against Café Lumiere's windows in sheets, while thunder rolled overhead like a warning. Trevor had just finished setting up for the day when the power flickered and died, leaving him in the gray light of dawn. He was about to put up a closed sign when a figure appeared at the door, dripping wet despite an expensive-looking umbrella that had clearly lost its battle with the wind. Amber. "We're actually," Trevor began, but she was already inside, water pooling at her feet. "Please," she said, "I just need a moment. And maybe one of your emotional lattes, if you can make it without power." Trevor hesitated, then nodded. He had a manual grinder for emergencies, and the gas stove meant he could still heat water. He set to work by the dim light filtering through the windows, aware of Amber watching his every move. "Elon left for San Francisco this morning," she said quietly. "Another emergency board meeting. He didn't even wake me to say goodbye, just left a message with his AI assistant to pass along." Trevor concentrated on grinding the beans, letting the rhythmic motion center him. "I'm sorry," he said, meaning it. "Are you?" She moved closer, her perfume mingling with the scent of fresh coffee. "Last night, before he interrupted. I was going to tell you something." Thunder crashed overhead, making them both jump. In the following silence, Trevor could hear his own heart beating. "I was going to tell you that your coffee isn't the only thing that makes me feel something real," Amber continued. "Ever since that first day, when you made me the phoenix. I've been waking up thinking about more than just your lattes. Trevor's hands stilled on the grinder. Amber, we can't. Can't what? Feel? Connect? Be human? She laughed softly. Elon wants to reduce everything to algorithms and data points. He wants to program emotions like they're software updates. But you understand that some things can't be calculated. And some things shouldn't be acted on, Trevor said, though it took all his willpower. He resumed grinding the beans, focusing on the task to maintain his composure. Why not? Because it's messy? Complicated? Inefficient? She was using Elon's words mockingly now. Tell me you don't feel this too. Tell me I'm imagining the way you look at me, the way you seem to read my heart every morning when I order my coffee. Trevor set down the grinder and turned to face her. Of course I feel it. How could I not? But feeling something doesn't always mean we should pursue it. The power chose that moment to return, lights flickering back to life and the espresso machine humming as it restarted. The sudden brightness seemed to break whatever spell had fallen over them in the storm's darkness. Amber stepped back slightly, composing herself. Make me a latte, she said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. Show me what you're feeling right now. Trevor moved to the espresso machine, letting his hands work while his mind raced. When he finished, the latte art depicted two waves crashing together, neither quite able to overcome the other. Amber stared at it for a long moment. You really are a poet, she said finally. She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope, setting it on the counter. I want you to have this. Read it after I leave. She turned and walked out into the storm without touching the latte, leaving Trevor alone with the envelope and the sound of rain. Inside, he found a handwritten poem, not very good, but heartfelt, and a key card to her hotel room. Trevor sat down heavily on his stool, pulled out his journal, and wrote. Storm-tossed hearts adrift. Between should and shouldn't lie. Waves of consequence. The next 24 hours would force all three of them to make choices that couldn't be undone, as the careful patterns they'd built began to dissolve like milk in coffee. The hotel key card sat on Trevor's kitchen counter all night, untouched but impossible to ignore. He'd tried to write, to sleep, to do anything but think about Amber waiting in her hotel room. By dawn, he'd filled 3 pages of his journal with fragments of poems he'd never finish. When he arrived at Café Lumière, earlier than usual, he found Elon Musk sitting on the front step. I figured you'd be an early riser, Elon said, standing. His usual polished appearance was slightly disheveled, as if he'd come straight from the airport. We need to talk. Trevor unlocked the door with hands that weren't quite steady. Would you like a coffee? No. I want you to explain something. Elon pulled out his phone, showing Trevor a series of photos, him and Amber in the cafe, their conversation during the storm, the untouched latte with its crashing waves. My AI surveillance system flags unusual patterns. Amber visiting the same cafe every day, staying longer each time, it caught my attention. Trevor began his morning routine anyway, needing the familiar motions to steady himself. Those photos, they're not what you think. Actually, they're exactly what I think, Elon said, but his voice held more weariness than anger. You know what's interesting? The AI predicted this weeks ago. It analyzed Amber's behavior patterns, your interactions, even the symbolism in your latte art. It calculated a 94.3% probability of emotional infidelity. But nothing happened, Trevor said quietly, measuring coffee beans. Nothing physical, anyway. Physical infidelity isn't what concerns me. Elon ran a hand through his hair. Do you know what Amber's first words were this morning when I surprised her by coming back early? She said, did you even feel anything when you left without saying goodbye? Trevor stayed silent, focusing on the coffee grinder. The thing is, Elon continued, I've been trying to solve emotions like they're engineering problems. Create algorithms for love, flowcharts for human connection. But watching these surveillance feeds, seeing how you communicate through something as simple as coffee. I realized I've been approaching everything wrong. The door chimed. They both turned to see Amber standing there, still wearing yesterday's clothes. I got your message about being here, she said to Elon. And I saw your car outside. She looked between them. So this is it? The big confrontation? Actually, Elon said, I came to say thank you. Both Amber and Trevor stared at him in confusion. Thank you, he repeated, for showing me what I've been missing. Trevor, your coffee art isn't impressive because of its technical precision, it's meaningful because it comes from genuine human connection. And Amber. He turned to her. You've been trying to tell me this for months, haven't you? That not everything needs to be optimized or upgraded? Amber's eyes filled with tears. I never wanted to hurt you. I know, Elon said. You just wanted to feel something real. He walked to the door, then paused. I'm heading back to California. Permanently. There's a new AI project that needs my attention, teaching machines to understand the value of human imperfection. After he left, Amber and Trevor stood in silence as the morning light filled the café. Make me a latte? Amber finally asked. One last time? Trevor worked quietly, putting everything he couldn't say into the cup. When he finished, the art showed a door standing open, with paths leading in different directions. Amber smiled sadly. You've been trying to tell me this all along, haven't you? Through every cup? That some doors need to stay closed, Trevor said gently, even when we wish they didn't. She nodded, understanding. I'm going to London, she said. There's a film project I've been putting off. I think it's time I focused on my own path for a while. I think that's wise, Trevor said. After she left, Trevor opened his journal one last time. In cups of coffee. We poured our hearts, but some dreams. Our best left unspilled. Months later, Café Lumière remained unchanged, still serving emotions in every cup. Trevor kept his poetry journal under the counter, though its pages now held different stories. Sometimes, on quiet mornings, he would make himself a latte with a phoenix design, remembering how the simplest things, a cup of coffee, a moment of connection, an unspoken feeling, could change lives in unexpected ways. And somewhere in California, a billionaire inventor was learning to appreciate his morning coffee not for its optimal caffeine content or precise temperature, but for the simple, messy, beautiful humanity of it all.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.